Want your plants to grow lush, bloom beautifully, and bear more fruit without relying on chemical fertilizers? I just used a few boiled soybeans, and a little miracle happened in my small garden. You know, my gardening journey has always been intertwined with curiosity. Every day, I watch every leaf, every pot, and little experiments often come to mind. Sometimes they succeed, sometimes they fail, but it's precisely these simple moments that make gardening so enjoyable. One of the experiments I found most rewarding was using boiled soybeans to nourish my plants. I remember clearly how this idea came to me by chance. One day, I was cooking some soybeans to eat, and I suddenly thought, if soybeans are nutritious for humans, could they also feed plants? So I set aside a small portion, boiled them thoroughly, and decided to bury them in the pots on my balcony. At first, I didn't expect much. I just thought, well, let's see what happens. But what happened over the next few weeks truly surprised me. At first, when I buried the boiled soybeans in the soil, I was a bit worried. Would they mold? Would they ruin the soil? Would the plants like it? I soon realized that boiling softened the beans, making them decompose more easily, without the unpleasant mold that raw beans might cause. The soybeans slowly broke down in the soil, releasing a mild, pleasant scent. Within a few days, the soil in the pots became loose and soft. Then I noticed a remarkable change in the plants. Herbs like basil, green onions, and cilantro, which had been growing slowly, suddenly turned a vibrant green. The leaves became larger, thicker, and more colorful. I even saw new shoots emerging faster than before, as if the plants had been infused with energy. What's surprising is that it wasn't just the leaves that benefited. Leafy greens, water spinach, and even some flowers I tried planting showed visible improvements. The plants stood taller, their stems stronger, and they seemed less prone to pests. I noticed that when I added boiled soybeans, the soil around the roots stayed moist and retained water well, but never compacted or heavy, perhaps because the decomposing soybeans enriched the soil with organic matter. One day, I even tried mashing a few cooled boiled beans and sprinkling them directly on the soil surface. Just a day or two later, rain or watering washed them into the soil, and the plants eagerly absorbed them as a quick meal. This method was especially convenient when I wanted to feed the plants quickly without digging. And you know, these tiny soybeans have many uses. Buried in the soil, they decompose slowly, acting like a nutrient reserve for the plants. Mashed and sprinkled on top, they serve as a quick meal, helping leaves turn green in just a few days. Mixed with soil when planting new seedlings, they become a nutrient-rich base, helping young plants thrive from the start. What I love most is the natural simplicity. I don't worry about chemicals or fertilizer residues. Everything comes from everyday kitchen ingredients. Clean, safe, and eco-friendly. There's even a sense of reassurance in knowing that the food I grow is nurtured with ordinary things, just like the meals I eat daily. I remember one time when my Malabar spinach on the balcony grew very slowly, its leaves small and yellow. I tried everything, from rice water to crushed eggshells, but it didn't improve. Then, I buried a few boiled soybeans around the roots. Just over a week later, new leaves started sprouting, greener and shinier. By the end of the month, the spinach had become lush, as if revived. I even experimented with bougainvillea. These flowers usually prefer dry soil and little care, but when I sprinkled a few mashed boiled soybeans around the base, new shoots sprouted, and the flowers bloomed more abundantly. Seeing my balcony burst with color surprised me and made me trust this little trick even more. Sometimes, I think of boiled soybeans as a high-energy meal for my plants. Simple, unpretentious, just little seeds bringing new life. The plants respond with green leaves, beautiful flowers, and tasty vegetables. That's the simple joy every gardener seeks. Interestingly, since using boiled soybeans, I've noticed fewer pests. Perhaps the plants are healthier, with stronger immunity. Instead of spraying chemicals or worrying, I just care for them consistently and occasionally add a few more boiled beans. I remember my first harvest after feeding the plants with boiled soybeans. The leafy greens were tender, crisp, and flavorful, with a noticeable difference. Fresh and rich in taste, they stayed fresh longer. I realized that when plants get enough nutrients, they give back the best and purest produce. Sometimes I share this tip with friends. At first, they didn't believe me. Soybeans are for eating. How could you feed them to plants? They said. But when they saw my balcony garden thriving, curiosity grew. I just smiled and said, "Try it. You'll be amazed." And indeed, everyone who tried it came back to tell me their plants had changed. I've realized that gardening doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes the solution is right in your kitchen. A handful of boiled soybeans, seemingly insignificant, can make a big difference. More importantly, it deepens my bond with my small garden, where I don't just grow vegetables and flowers, but also peace and joy. Now, whenever I cook soybeans, I always set some aside for the plants. A small habit, a little meal shared with my garden. I feed my plants, and they return green patches, fresh vegetables, and simple happiness. For many, soybeans are just food. For me, they are a gardening secret. A secret that requires no complex science, no intricate formulas, just genuine effort, real experience, and observation. And I believe that if you try it, you'll feel the same little miracle. Your plants will say thank you with lush leaves, vibrant flowers, and sweet, wholesome fruits. So, if you want your small garden to be healthy and full of life, start with a few boiled soybeans. Simple, yet sometimes it's the simplest things that bring the most wonderful results.